Hey everybody, welcome to the Player's Take, episode 81. I am your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my two co-hosts, a man biting at my heels in Sekiro, Montrell Rice.
Hey, what's up?
And then a woman who's in Texas with us, Tiara.
Yay!
How are you guys doing today?
I'm good. You know, I am in Texas. You know, unfortunately, I'm not in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but I am in Texas. So for the first time, we are shooting at the same time zone.
Same time zone, right? Well, welcome to Texas. I hope you're having a fun time here with the heat and all that, you know.
You know, I stepped outside for 5 minutes to go to Walmart, and I was like, oh, time to go back home because why is it 95 degrees out here?
Oh, this is mild.
98 degrees.
This
why
is
is it going to be
mild.
100 degrees tomorrow? Questions that need answer. Mother Nature.
Like, if you had come 2 weeks ago, you would literally have not even wanted to go to that Walmart. Like, that's how bad it was. 108, I think, or something like that. It was some.
I think
wild
it's so funny
nonsense.
because Montrell was like on Twitter. Somebody was like, "Well, how do you bear the heat?" Montrell was like, "We just don't go outside after dark."
Yep, literally.
After the sun go down, we don't go out we don't go outside. And I'm like, facts, like.
Yep. No, and even when the sun is down, it's still hot. You know, like that's kind of a foreign thing for me. I feel like because I'm from Massachusetts, and when the sun went down, like there was always like at least a slight chill in the air, even in the summer. You know.
Yeah, I'm gonna say in DC, it's like you know when it's hot. You know, DC is kind of humid, so you can't really escape the heat when it's hot. Yeah. But when the sun goes down, it's like a different ball game. It's like, okay, now this is manageable, but here,
nope.
No, you can't.
It's hot Michigan, all day.
Yeah, in Michigan, it just gets really humid, like because all those lakes are around us, and we got small ponds everywhere, and everything.
DC is kind of like swampland, I think.
All right, this is a video game podcast. If you couldn't tell, it's a video game podcast we do every week where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. We're also on YouTube on Mondays, 6 a.m. Central Time. And if you've been following them, you already know this. But if you don't, I've been posting Let's Plays of Brigandine Legend of Runercia on YouTube every other day. We are up to episode 12 or 13, I think, on the YouTube, something like that. So keep checking those out. They'll be continuing to drop. So we are getting through that playthrough. So, all right, let's get into it. Let's start with what, like we always do, with what we've been playing. Who wants to go first?
Of course, as always, ladies first. I will go first.
Fair enough. Go for it.
Only because, you know, I swear, these Tuesday they just roll around so fast.
They really do.
You've said that multiple times now, and
I know.
It's funny how fast they roll around.
I know, but I just never get over the shock of it because I really feel like we just, you know,
we actually did just record on Friday, so that makes sense. We did record on Friday.
That's true.
Though.
Oh yeah, that Montrell. Thank you for reminding me. I'm sorry to cut you off, Tiara, but we do have one more announcement I forgot about. Our Ghost of Tsushima spoiler cast is live. It's actually split in two parts because we couldn't shut up about this game and went on for 3 hours. So it's on in two parts. It's already live. By the time you hear this, both parts are up. So check that out too. So Tiara, please continue.
Yes. So I've been playing Call of Duty. As always, Modern Warfare. I played a little bit of multiplayer. You know, it's a bit of a learning curve for me, honestly. You know, I'm kind of mad at myself that, you know, I got into first person shooters so late because I just really feel like I'm so behind the curve. Like it's so crazy.
Do you mean in general, like in life, like you didn't start playing them until you were older?
Yeah, like literally.
Okay.
I just really started playing first person shooters probably like pandemic, honestly.
Oh wow. Okay.
Like I have a couple first person shooters, but I mean, like for instance, I think the only other one I really played was Call of Duty World War II, and even then I only got a little bit into the campaign, and after that it was, you know, I didn't really play it. So but I've decided that Warzone is like what I really want to focus on. I like the strategy behind battle royales.
Yes.
I'm thinking about getting into Apex.
Yes.
Thinking
Please tell us when you download it. I will get it on PS4 because I know you're on console, and I will play. I will play with you. I fucking love Apex.
Well, if you're willing to bear with me while I get myself together in the game, then I'm
That's
definitely
okay. I'll carry you. That's fine.
and and then because I have traveled away from my house,
Mm-hmm.
I have my Switch with me. But all I've been playing really is Pokemon Sword, trying to advance the game in Pokemon Sword. I think I have one more gym battle left.
Okay.
But I honestly have been really loving Pokemon Sword. There's nothing I really don't like about this game. I think it's mostly because I never would have thought that there would have been like a 3D version of Pokemon. So I'm still like razzled and dazzled by Pokemon Sword.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's basically all I've really been playing. If I was at home, I would have been playing the Outer Worlds. But yep, that's it.
Okay, Montrell.
I've been playing League of Legends. I was helping one of my friends set up his stream because he's trying to stream League of Legends too. So I will be auto hosting him. His name's like Fire Type Chris. He's just a small time streamer, and I mean of course I am too. So and he's just getting back into League. So every time he wants to get online, I jump online and play with him. So we just been doing like some norms and stuff like that, and also been playing Sekiro again. So
I know.
I'm at the Guardian Ape now, and he's not as hard as I remember.
This motherfucker.
I didn't beat him yet. I got almost to the end, and I kind of messed up, and I had to go back to work.
Flex.
You said what?
Montrell with the humble flex. He's not that hard. It's not as hard as I remember.
So it's funny because I've been playing Sekiro as well, and I've gotten really far, or at least I feel like I've gotten really far. I'm past the Guardian Ape. I'm past the next boss after the Guardian Ape too. I beat that earlier today, and I'm almost at Mibu Village. But Montrell keeps posting these clips on Twitter, and I'm like, motherfucker, how much are you playing this game? Because I'm playing it a lot, and you're like right on my ass, like legitimately right on my ass. Like he's like barely behind. He's like a few hours behind me at best, at this point. And I'm like, man, he's been mainlining this game this week, hasn't he? Haven't you, sir?
Actually, I haven't played it for 2 days. I played it a little bit today on my lunch, and that's when I posted that clip. But honestly, I played it. I played it yesterday, not yesterday, day before yesterday. I didn't play it at all yesterday.
Well, so I've been playing Sekiro as well, as I said. And I am through 6 bosses now. I'm close to my 7th, I think. And so I think last week I had barely touched the game at that point. So I feel like I'm blowing through this game, and I'm now that after I beat Lady Butterfly, the game really clicked for me, and I feel like I kind of get the whole thing now. I understand everything about Sekiro. It's weird. It's like you beat that boss and you understand the game, and then the game's super fun after that. And before that, the game's not really that fun, and it's kind of weird. It's like really jarring for me actually, because the portion of the game before the first bosses is actually fairly long. It's a lot of traversal and platforming. There are a bunch of mini bosses you fight, but they don't really teach you the mechanics very well, whereas Lady Butterfly is like a fight designed a specific way that you have to beat a specific way, and it really gets you in the mindset for what this game wants out of you. But I'm having a lot of fun with this game. I really, really, really like it. Like it's I'm surprised how much I'm enjoying it actually, because I don't know, From's games have never really clicked with me up until this point, but I see why everyone's so crazy about this game. Like the Sekiro boys, as I call you guys, I get why you guys talk about this game so fucking much.
Are you not a Sekiro boy now?
I mean, if they'll let me in, I don't know. Am I allowed in? I don't know, it's I'm at the point where I kind of want to platinum this game. The platinum for this game is actually not that hard. And it really only requires 2 playthroughs. So yeah, we'll see if I can do that or not. But I do want to say though, Montrell, that boss you're talking about, the Guardian Ape, that first phase, pain in the ass. on that
Is
boss.
that the one with the head chopped off?
Yes. Yeah, the first phase you fight it and its head's not chopped off. It's literally just an ape with a sword in its head, or in its neck, I think. And you halfway through the fight chop the head off, and then you fight it with the, it's holding its severed head like you saw. And the severed head part is actually really easy compared to the first part, in my opinion, because you can deflect his attacks way easier in the second part, and his patterns are they're easier to read in general. So, but you end up the boss after that is similar, and I don't know, got through it pretty good. So I haven't had too much trouble with most of the bosses so far. I'd say the worst one for me, like the one that took me the most time, was probably Lady Butterfly. Actually, I think she took me a solid 2 hours probably to beat, like of tries. So, but I'm looking forward to the late game fights because I know the bosses, and I'm really like amped to fight some of them because the human bosses in this game are exhilarating fights. I feel like Lady Butterfly, the third boss that you fight, is really super fun in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to more of those. So I'm trying to get through the like main part of the game where you don't fight human bosses, and I'm getting close to that point. So I'm excited to keep playing it. But yeah, Montrell's on New Game Plus. He's a try hard,
Definitely a try hard.
I'm surprised he didn't do because there's a thing in New Game Plus you can turn this item in that makes the game super hard, where if you don't perfect deflect enemy attacks, you take damage. So you will take damage blocking, not blocking, dodging if you get hit. The only way to not take damage is perfectly time a deflection. And that is super difficult to do. I'm surprised Montrell didn't go down that route. Because, yeah, I know he's a tryhard. But, Montrell, you have anything else to say about Sekiro?
No, I'm all right for right now.
Okay, all right. I'll have more to say about it next week.
I'm hoping you're not gonna dispute the fact that you're a tryhard.
No, he's just taking it. He's just used to the abuse at this point, Tiara. It's become a weekly thing for him.
It's no fun when you take it. You
got to fight back. No, it's all good. There's nothing wrong with being a tryhard. Okay, I'm kind of being a tryhard with this game too. Like, playing it as hard as I am. So it is what it is. But all right, like I said, I'll have more to say about it next week. I'm hoping to beat it this week. That's kind of my plan. But it depends on how hard the final bosses are. So we'll see about that. So, all right, let's jump into the news. We've got a lot of game reveals this week that we have to discuss. The first of which is Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. That is a mouthful. No joke. So I think we talked about this game a few weeks ago, and I mistakenly said this game had already been revealed. It has not, because it leaked, and it's going to be revealed probably tomorrow as of recording time tomorrow. I think Gamescom, the digital version of Gamescom, is starting, and I believe they're going to show it there. But it's already leaked. This is basically official at this point. There's already key art for the game and everything out there. So it is going to be coming out this November. And there's going to be 3 editions of the game, according to the leaks. There's going to be a standard edition that is going to be on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. A cross-gen edition that's going to be on PS4, Xbox One, PC, and then you'll get an upgraded version of the game on PS5, Xbox Series X. And then there's an Ultimate Edition that is basically their normal collector's edition or digital deluxe edition or whatever. But it's going to be the cross-gen edition plus whatever else you would normally get with the digital deluxe. The reason this is interesting, though, is that this basically confirms that they're not doing a free upgrade from PS4 to Xbox One to PC. I am assuming, and I'm sure this will be revealed, the cross-gen edition of this game is going to cost more than the standard edition. Whether it's $20, $40, we don't know. Even $10, we don't know quite yet. But that would be my guess at this time. But, Tiara, I know you're playing COD right now. Are you excited about a new COD? The new COD?
Okay, so honestly, the only thing I'm excited about is restarting my KD ratio, honestly. The goal for me is to get decent enough at Call of Duty, get all of that out in Modern Warfare so that when I go to Cold War that I'm okay, and then I can hold my own. So that's my goal. But I was just thinking to myself, it's kind of petty for Activision to put out a new Call of Duty before, like, it's pretty much, not set in stone, but it's just like it's pretty certain that it's going to come out before the next gen consoles, and then to not offer a free upgrade, considering that Call of Duty comes out around November,
Right.
and that's when the new consoles are going to come out. To me, it's kind of petty. It's kind of petty to like release it so close to the date and then not offer a free upgrade. Like, that's crazy, and then considering that the next gen consoles have not had an actual release date yet, I feel like I would be very upset as a consumer if I purchase Call of Duty day one and then the consoles come out, let's say, a couple weeks later, and then Activision is like, oh, well, you got to buy Call of Duty again. Like, that's kind of crazy to me. That's kind of petty.
There's going to be a lot of people who make that mistake. They're not going to know the difference between the standard edition.
Yeah.
They're not even going to know there's a cross-gen edition.
There won't be us, though. But
right. But there will be, I bet you, millions of gamers that happens to.
There will be people, and that's why I'm like, that's kind of petty. But at the same time, it's just like the game is a game. What can you do? Like, Call of Duty is this big franchise for a reason. There are some people who are going to be mad, but then they're going to be like, well, I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to buy it again anyways because it's Call of Duty and I like Call of Duty. But at the same time, it's just like, and I feel like Activision is kind of taking advantage of those people, because Activision knows there are certain people who just play Call of Duty and they're going to buy the game however many times they're going to buy it. But it's just like, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And I feel like Activision should have some type of morality and be like, either you offer the game before the next gen consoles come out and you offer a free upgrade, or you just offer the next gen as it comes out. Like, either or. But I just really feel like it's kind of petty on Activision's part to do that. But that's just me.
Yeah, as we still don't know the release dates or prices of the consoles, and this is really muddying the waters, I think, for these third-party announcements, because we don't know how any of this is going to work yet, and it's slowly kind of getting trickled out and revealed to us through things like this, is that it seems like it's a free-for-all. You can do whatever you want as a third party. Like, you can do a free upgrade if you want. You could not do a free upgrade if you want. You can charge more for the PS5 version and not the PS4 version, and nobody knows. It's like, this is my issue with them waiting so long to make these announcements, is that we're having to piece this together, and this is going to make it really confusing for consumers. This holiday season is going to suck for your general gamer who doesn't follow news the way we do, because they're going to have no fucking clue what the difference between the PS4 version is. The PS5 is going to be backwards compatible with PS4. Oh, but you're going to get a shitty version of the game if you buy the PS4 version, but it's going to play on your PS5, but it's going to be a different version. It's like, it's confusing as hell. Like, because the PS4 version of this game will work on PS5, according to what Sony's told us so far, but yet there's a cross-gen version of the game. What does that even get you? You get better graphics? You get better frame rates? Like, is the game going to run in a shittier frame rate on PS5 if you have the PS4 version? How does that even work?
Well, what I imagine is it's kind of like the difference between the Xbox One and the Xbox One X. Like, I remember in playing PUBG way back when I had the regular Xbox, and then people had the Xbox One X, and it was just like, oh, like, your game renders faster, the buildings load faster, like everything just loads faster. And it's just like, even so now when playing Warzone, I have friends who still don't have the One X. I have the One X, so everything is normal to me. But some of my friends are like, when I'm like, oh, where are we gonna drop, where we're gonna go to, and they're like, oh, wait, hold on, my my game is still loading, and I'm like, what do you mean your game is still loading? And I guess I feel like that's what it's gonna be. That's the difference. It's gonna be like your game is gonna render faster, your game is gonna move faster on the next gen consoles versus the current gen consoles.
But then what are you paying for in the cross gen version? If that's the case.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's a new game, so you're gonna be paying new game prices. But at the same time, it's just like, even if the next gen version is gonna be $10 more, you're gonna be like, wow, I could have just paid $10 more to get the next gen version. Like,
Yeah,
But then again, that's assuming that the consumer is going to buy the next gen consoles day one.
that's
Like
true. That's true.
that's the
That's
assumption,
very true.
because a lot of people are not like us. A lot of people are not going to get the consoles day one.
Well, there won't be supply for everybody to get one either. So
right, but a lot of people are going to be like, well, I can wait. I don't really play games like that anyway. It's like, I'm a casual gamer. Like, I can wait. I don't have to get it right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Montrell, you've been quiet this segment.
I'm just listening. You say what?
You excited about this new Call of Duty?
Not really. I don't care.
You're not really a Call of Duty person, are you? Though.
No, not really. I stopped being a Call of Duty person for a while, so.
I would say I've not been a Call of Duty person in the past, but I feel like Modern Warfare has changed my life. Honestly, I really like Modern Warfare. I like that game a whole lot. So now I'm like, I think I may be on this Call of Duty train now. So I'll probably get Cold War, or I know for a fact Shane's gonna get Cold War. So I may just see what see him play it and then decide. Or nah, I take that back. I'm probably gonna get Cold War day one. Probably gonna get Cold War day one.
Well, I don't play Call of Duty, but I will talk about this franchise endlessly because I do find Activision's approach to it endlessly fascinating, and the fact that they've been able to maintain sales dominance for basically 10 to 15 straight years, I find it insane. The machine they've put together. Like we were talking about a pre-show, the fact they have like 3 studios that rotate, and then they have support studios. They have studios dedicated to just making maps. Like it's bonkers what they got going on with Call of Duty.
And then the thing about this Call of Duty Cold War, it's supposed to be, from what I read, I think it's supposed to be a sequel to Black Ops 1.
Yeah.
So within the Call of Duty series, I feel like Black Ops is the most popular. Like that subsection.
Yes, it is. It is.
The most popular.
Well, that's why they named it this way, because it should just be called Call of Duty Cold War, right? But they want Black Ops in there because that's the name that's like really popular, right? So
I'm expecting this game to do really well simply because it's a Black Ops game.
Yeah, right. I would too. I agree with you. I think it'll match this year's or rather last year's, or do even better potentially. So, all right, let's move on. Next one is another game leak. This time Ubisoft, who literally can't make a game announcement to save their lives. Like every one of their fucking games gets leaked this way. It's so funny to me. But Prince of Persia, the not the original, but the first like 3D Prince of Persia, which was Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, I believe the name was. Which was a PS2, GameCube, Xbox era game from like the early 2000s. I played this game. I love this game. There's a remake has leaked online on a retailer's website. And this seems like it's pretty much real because Jason Schreier on Twitter, made a joke about retailers leaking Ubisoft games. And so that, to me, basically confirms this game's real. I assume it's going to get announced in September, because they said they're having another Ubisoft Forward. So I'm expecting that to get announced. I'm actually kind of excited about this because, like I said, Sands of Time is the only Prince of Persia I've actually played to completion, and I really, really, really love this game. So getting a modern version of it that's updated with more updated controls, maybe some better combat, is appealing to me. So I'm very intrigued by this. Have either of you played this Prince of Persia, the Sands of Time?
I didn't play the Sands of Time. I played the other version of it, the remake that they did where they rebooted the franchise in
2008, the one that was cel shaded.
Yeah, I like that one. I know a lot of people didn't like that one because all the combat scenarios are kind of scripted. But we're not scripted in a way of like you fighting on there weren't any really random encounters, right? It was just like you had a boss fight at the end of each platforming section. A lot of people didn't like that, so I liked it. It was a pretty cool. Like I said, that was my first Prince of Persia, so I know my opinion on that is pretty bad. I know from the fan base when that game came out, a lot of people did not like that game. They prefer the older ones, Sands of Time, and then I think it's called Dark Prince or
Warrior Within, I think.
Warrior Within, when they had like the two-tone version of them.
Very dark, more combat heavy than Sands of Time. That's the interesting part about that trilogy: Sands of Time, Warrior Within, and then Twin Thrones, or Two Thrones. I forget the exact name of the third one, but the first one was a very puzzle heavy game. That's why I liked it so much. Actually, it was like a puzzle platformer almost. The second game became much more of a combat heavy game, and then the third game I think went even further with that. But which is why I never played the second two, because they were such big departures from the original. But
I think that's why a lot of people were saying they didn't like that one. And then when they rebooted the franchise, they had more platforming, but then they gutted, like almost took out the combat aspect. The combat was really good, but they just lowered your encounters for the platforming. So it's like they never really found a balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Prince of Persia. So I never played Prince of Persia any of the games. I think I remember when Prince of Persia: Sands of Time came out. I remember really liking the graphics of that game. I remember I keep forgetting what the game was compared to. Maybe God of War.
That's a good question.
The gameplay, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know for sure.
Like, I really feel like like from my recollection, when the game first came out, it was really compared heavy to another game, and I really feel like it was God of War. I wanted to say Assassin's Creed, but Assassin's Creed wasn't out. I don't think then.
No, it wasn't.
Right. So I want to say God of War, like the first God of War.
Yeah, I'd say God of War is more combat focused. It has puzzles. It's it's a spectrum, right? Puzzles on one side, combat on the other. Like God of War leans combat, where Prince of Persia leans puzzles.
Yeah, sure. I would say I feel like that's what it was compared to when it first came out. But that only made me want to play it more. But at the time when the game first came out, Sands of Time, I was still a dependent. And my mom was like, she ain't got enough money to buy me no Prince of Persia. So I didn't play it. And then I remember, like, later on in life, like, thinking to myself, okay, I'm gonna like buy it eventually. And then it just went, you got a backlog, so it just never happened.
Right.
So I have not been like invested into the Prince of Persia, but now that I think it's gonna come on like the PS4 and the Switch, I may buy it on the Switch. But if it's gonna be $60, I'm probably not gonna buy it on the Switch. I'm probably gonna wait till it comes on sale to get it on the Switch, honestly. But it's not a game that I feel like I'm gonna buy. Honestly, I don't think I'm gonna get any more games on the current gen except the Switch. So I'm not gonna get it on the PS4. I'm not gonna get it, what I'm saying? So it's just like, when it comes out, if it's $60 on the Switch, I'm not gonna get it right away. I'm gonna wait until it eventually goes on sale. And then I'm gonna get it on the Switch. Because we haven't got to the potential of a new Switch yet, but I don't think that I'm going to buy a new Switch. I just got this Switch, and I'm comfortable with this Switch. So I don't think I'm going to get a new one. So yeah. I really liked it, because it makes me think to myself, well, I'm probably going to that makes me want to get it even more.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. I don't know if I'll play it day one. It really depends on how much of a remake it is, like if it's a full-on remake or not. And if it is a full-on remake, like what that entails, because I wouldn't want it to really lose the spirit of what the original game was, with the puzzle focus. But this game is like really interesting in gaming history, because I do think it's one that just kind of fell away over time, and people kind of forget about it, because this game is actually phenomenal. Like I remember playing it and being kind of blown away by how good it was. Like it surprised me, like how much I liked it. Because there was this whole mechanic in the game. The whole like crux of the game is that your character had this dagger that allowed him to rewind time, and that was the main puzzle mechanic. You could use it in combat as well if you fucked up.
Is that why it was called Sands of Time? Because you can rewind time.
Yep. Right. And he had the Sands of Time. Like he had whatever the item was that allowed him to use it.
Yeah.
And he could reverse time and redo things or do things differently depending on what he was doing. So it was a really cool mechanic, though. You could use it at any time. So the game is really fun. I think it's really an underrated game in that generation for sure. I've not really heard many people talk about it. So it's an interesting game, though, that Ubisoft's picking out of their catalog to remake, because they have a lot of other stuff they could have gone with, but regardless, I'm looking forward to the announcement of this one, and which is the antithesis of my feelings on Ubisoft in general. So we'll see next month. We'll let you guys know how we feel about it if and when it is revealed. All right, let's move on. We got another game reveal. This one is official. It is called Black Myth Wukong. It is made by a developer called Game Science, which is a Chinese-based developer. It looks like an action, third-person action RPG of some sort. There was a 13-minute gameplay demo that dropped on YouTube, and I know we all checked this out. What did you guys think of this game? Does this pique your fancy?
For me, yeah, I'm gonna try it out. It looks like another Soulsborne clone, but looks like it has some very interesting mechanics. It looks like a little bit more fast paced than standard Soulsborne clones. So I don't even know if I can call it that. But it does have the aspects of that. It's like a third person action game with the single target lock on, cameras always behind you type deal. So usually when people see that, they associate that with like instead of like Devil May Cry or anything, they associate it with the Soulsborne Sekiro games, and it looks really good. So I'm going to give it a shot. I know a lot of people were upset. They were excited for this game, and then they got upset when they seen the Soulsborne fandom get excited for this game. So you know how that goes.
Yeah, once they get involved, everyone gets pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked good to me. It's got an interesting style to it. Obviously, you're playing as Wukong, and he's got his a pole arm thingy that he uses, the double-sided pole arm or whatever. Looks pretty cool. There's a lot of mythical creatures, it looks like, and interesting combat encounters. The game definitely looked more like, honestly, I'd put it more in the realm of like God of War to me than like Dark Souls. That's the vibe I was getting from it. It didn't seem like it was like overly like crazy difficult or obtuse in any way, but we'll see. I guess we'll see when it comes out. They didn't give a release date for it. They said it'll come out when it's ready, basically is what they said. But I would wager 2021 probably for it. Tiara, what did you think of this game? Or do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, so I mean, I saw that it was announced. I did not, me, I don't be looking at trailers and stuff. I like to just be surprised. But when it comes to those type of games, like those games that are like based on like, ancient whatever, historical times, whatever, like that whole setup, like I'm gonna instantly give it a try. It kind of reminds me of Jade Empire. I don't know if you ever played Jade Empire.
I know what it is. Never played it.
But it kind of reminds me of that without the open world part. So without the custom characterization, without whatever. But that's what I kind of think of it as. Even though I feel like Jade Empire, I don't know if Jade Empire was Chinese. I think it was Japanese, honestly.
That was Western made. You talking about the studio?
But what I'm saying is the setting
where it took place.
Yeah, that was
like the setting. Like I'm saying, when it comes to those type of games, like those are like my type of games. So
yeah.
I'll definitely give it a try. Like for me, like I like to just be like pleasantly surprised. So like I don't, really watch trailers anymore of, especially if it's gonna show gameplay. I just really trust, whatever the developer puts out. So I'm excited. Like I'll probably get it. Next, if I'm gonna get it like day one, I'm not sure because there's so many games that I want to get,
right.
And I also have to support my life. Rent, car notes. So right. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get it day one, but if it happens to be on the Game Pass, then I'll definitely be playing it. But as far as buying it, I'm not sure just yet.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on when it comes out. If it is even next year, like when in the year it comes out versus, because there's a lot of games coming out in the next calendar year. So, but the game looked really clean to me. Like the animations look clean. A lot of the enemy animations look pretty clean too, actually. And there's a lot. Your character has a lot at their disposal, which I found interesting as well. So the game's definitely looks cool. I'll say that much. We'll see kind of how robust it is, I guess, once it is closer to release. But if you haven't checked out the gameplay though, like I said, there's 13 minutes of gameplay, so check that out on YouTube. So all right, let's move on. As Tiara alluded to earlier, there is a report out there. This is a rumor at the moment that there will be an upgraded model of the Switch coming in 2021. This is from Bloomberg. That it will potentially support 4K resolutions. And what would you guys say to that if Nintendo released a new Switch that had the power to play 4K, play in 4K?
Okay, so here's my thing with the Switch.
Yeah.
Here's my thing with the Switch. Now, I think to myself, 4K, that's all well and good, but you can't even get the frame rates correct on the current Switch.
Yep.
You know, so
Yep.
that's what I'm thinking about. You know, you can't support heavier gameplay when you can't even have the gameplay that you have now. You can't
Mhm.
even support the gameplay that you have now.
Right.
And you talking about gameplay that came from, well, I guess it would be this current gen or whatever.
Yeah.
But you know, I think to myself, BioShock, for instance, right? BioShock was originally a 360 game, right?
Yeah, PlayStation 3 360.
Right, because I only remember because I had BioShock 2, and you know how you know how you sit your Xbox like on its side, like where it's
Yeah.
vertical, you
Yep.
know, and I remember that my Xbox tipped over and the disc scratched and it was unplayable. So that's the
that
only
sucks.
reason why I remember that. And so I think to myself, a game like BioShock, you know, should be able to run flawlessly on the Switch. And it's like, you know, you shouldn't have a game to go from console to the Switch and you have to cut things out in order to, you know, for it to be playable. And
Mhm.
even then it's still not really playable, you know. So I
Yep.
think to myself, Nintendo needs to work out that issue first, about how to make games playable, fully playable on the Switch first before they think about revving it up to 4K. So
Yeah.
for me, I'm thinking to myself, like, performance wise, I don't think it's a good idea. So I'm not gonna get it, honestly.
Yeah. Montrell, what do you think?
Well, about the Switch, I think
Yeah.
I gotta wait to see they come out. I don't really have too much opinion on that. I mean, it's been a long time. It's been overdue for an upgrade, in my
Yeah.
opinion. The games they're trying to get on there. I mean, it makes a lot of sense why third party games are like trying to flock to the Switch now because they probably knew something like this was in development. But I think this, despite the 4K, because I actually don't really get too hyped for 4K in general. I think a lot of people was putting too much emphasis on 4K. I just want the game to look good and run at 60 frames. So hopefully, people will actually do that. Like just make the games look good and run at 60 frames and look crisp at 1080p or 144p, or not 144p,
1440.
1440p. I can care less for 2K. I care less for 4K. And I hope that's what developers start targeting for. But I will say that the Switch is overdue for upgrade, even though it just came out like a couple of years ago. I feel like a lot of the games are they're kind of lacking as far as graphical wise, and I understand why. But I just feel like it's kind of last gen-ish, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on the 4K thing. Like the fact that it mentioned 4K just like makes me facepalm because I'm like the Switch shouldn't be trying to hit 4K. No offense.
Exactly.
Like no offense to
I think
Nintendo,
4K is
but
important though, honestly.
yeah.
I feel like before I got my One X, before I got my 4K TV, before I got my PS4 Pro, all these things are running 4K. Before I got these devices, I was like, 4K, who needs it? But now that I have 4K and I go back to 1080, I definitely need it. I can't backtrack honestly with the 4K.
Yeah.
But to your point, I don't think the Switch needs 4K.
Yeah, the Switch isn't that device, right?
The Switch is not that device. Like I'm perfectly fine hooking my Switch into my TV and playing it however it plays. Like I'm perfectly fine with that. For me, it's the performance. Like if you can't even get it correct when it's not in 4K, it's no way you're gonna be able to get it correct when it's in 4K. So I feel like, you know, you need to handle the performance part first. Keeping it at 60 frames and then having it run efficiently. You should not, until you can get a game that can have a complete transfer from console to Switch, like literally, you don't have to cut out a part of the game to make it run. Until you can actually do that on the Switch, you don't need to be worried about if it's in 4K or not.
Yeah.
You need to be able to run a full game on the Switch.
I will say, though, the fact that they're aiming for 4K will probably solve that problem. It's just my hope is that you will be able to play games out of the 4K mode if you want. Like, that's gonna be the big
Right,
thing.
to increase the frame rates?
Right, frame rates, and yeah, even fidelity would be able to get increased if you load the frame rate. So that is kind of my hope, is like, if you are aiming for 4K, whatever, Nintendo. If you need to do that for marketing reasons, fine. But as long as we have the option to not play in 4K, if we want, for higher frame rates, better graphical fidelity, like, that is necessary. Because if you don't do that, you're going to be in the same situation you are now that Tiara is talking about, where you cannot, like, some games just don't run well because they cannot play at that resolution on the device, So I don't know. I need to see specs. I really need to see what this thing is. Nintendo is supposedly going to be having a huge slew of games that they're going to announce alongside this thing. So we may be hearing about this thing actually relatively soon. And that would make sense because 2021 will be 4 years since the Switch came out, which, if that doesn't make you feel old, I don't know what will. But like that.
Honestly, time just really flies by because it really
does.
feels like the Switch just came out like last year. Honestly, it really feels like it just came out last year.
But yeah, 2017 was when it released. Yep, and so that'd be 4 years, and that is enough time to justify an upgrade.
That's definitely enough time to justify an upgrade.
Yeah.
But but to Nintendo's part, it's been 3 years since the Switch came out, and it can't run what it's supposed to run.
Yeah.
Because the idea of the Switch is that it's a portable console. Like, you can plug it into your TV and it's a console just like your Xbox, or you can take it with you and it's like a portable thing, like a PSP or something. So, like, that's the idea between the Switch. So it's just like, I feel like in 3 years, maybe it does need an upgrade. Maybe that's what the issue is. Maybe it just needs an upgrade. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to our next story, our follow-up from last week. So we talked about both of these games, but they have officially been revealed, and we've got gameplay, and we've got some trailers for them. So Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was officially revealed at DC, what was it called? Fandom, I think it was called. This weekend was DC's big, like, blowout event for a bunch of stuff. There's a new Batman movie revealed, all sorts of stuff. So this is Rocksteady's game. These are the guys who made the Arkham games, and they showed a short trailer for Suicide Squad, and they didn't show any gameplay, but there's a lot of information on this game that already revealed. So the trailer basically was just showing the Suicide Squad, which was Harley, I think, King Shark, Boomerang, Captain Boomerang.
Deadshot.
And Deadshot were in there as well. And I think there was one other character. I don't remember who it was.
No, that was it.
That was it? Okay. And they were, whatever, quipping between each other. And all of a sudden, Superman shows up and murders some dude straight up with his laser eyes. And that we already knew from the promotional art that he, was the target of the Suicide Squad in this game. So he's evil for whatever reason in this, and it seems like most of the Justice League might be as well. So we'll see about that. But Rocksteady did say that this game's coming in 2022 is what they're shooting for, so it's not coming anytime soon, and that it is going to be a shooter, a squad, basically like a squad-based shooter where you control one of the Suicide Squad members and you can play it in full co-op or solo. But if you play it solo, the other 3 Suicide Squad members are going to be controlled by bots. So this is definitely a departure from what we're used to with Rocksteady in terms of what their games are.
Co-op.
Right, co-op, and it's a shooter. So
see, I'm trying to figure out the shooter aspect of it because, okay, a Deadshot, obviously a shooter, but somebody like Harley Quinn, okay, Harley Quinn occasionally does use guns, but somebody like, let's say, King Shark,
right, how does this gameplay even work?
Like, how does the shooter part really, like, coincides with those characters.
Mhm.
So I think it's interesting that they're making it a shooter. But honestly, I trust Rocksteady. So whatever Rocksteady says, I feel like they're gonna make it work.
Yeah, I I agree with you. I actually I'm okay with this to me because I was talking about last week, like, are they going to use the same Arkham gameplay for this game? And it's like, no, it's a
Yeah.
completely different gameplay style. So it's like I'm
Yeah.
actually kind of into the idea of that, like them just
Yeah.
doing something completely different genre, even though it's in the same universe, which they did confirm it's in the Arkham universe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm intrigued by that. So
I feel like last week I was like, well, there's no reason for them to deviate from the Arkham, combat style. But then we were talking, we were like, well, Batman is really the only one with that beat 'em up type style. So how would that translate to the other characters? And so I think, I am definitely looking forward for it being a different style of combat.
yeah.
I feel like Rocksteady's kind of new, you know, right? They're kind of new, right? Like
Yeah,
from their first Arkham game,
Yeah.
they kind of new.
I don't know their whole. I don't know their whole
Arkham?
catalog, but they're not a super old studio.
But that's what I'm saying. So they're relatively like kind of new. Like I mean, you know what I mean. Like
Yeah,
not
their
new,
first game. Their first game was in
they've been
2000.
relevant in the
but
last
in terms
10
of like
years.
established franchises.
Yeah, they've been relevant in the
Rocksteady's
last 10
kinda
years. Yeah, the last 10 years they've been relevant. So I guess that is a relatively new studio from that aspect.
Yeah, no, their first game was in 2006, and it was actually a shooter, first-person shooter. So maybe they do have experience in this. I don't know.
I think
It's a long time
I
ago,
think it's
though.
gonna be all right. And then you said 2022, like that's like 2 years from now. That's kind of like
Yeah, I'm surprised they revealed it. The fact because this game has been in development since Arkham Knight came out, so that will be like a 7-year dev cycle. Because
has Arkham
Arkham
Knight been
Knight,
out 7 years? That's
no,
crazy.
it came out in 2015. By the time this game comes out, it will have been
Oh,
7
okay,
years.
got you. 2022.
So yeah, that's crazy long. It kind of makes me wonder, like, what is taking so long with it? Makes me wonder if they had like another project that they maybe booted up and canceled at some point. Because yeah, I mean, it depends on how long the game is and how
I mean,
big it is, but
honestly, as an adult, I got so much stuff to do that 2022 is gonna fly by. Next
oh
thing you know,
yeah,
I'm gonna blink. It's
you're
gonna
right.
be 2022. So
You're
I'm
right.
not too worried about the time that it's gonna come out.
Yeah,
Typically works out in games' favors. You think about
yeah.
games, how long they take to come out, and even it's like for instance, Ghost of Tsushima. How long did it take for that game to come out? Like
6
5, 6
years.
years?
6 years. But it's not always true. Anthem is an example where
Oh, that's true. That's
long
true.
dev
That's true.
cycle
But I
did
thought
not help
Anthem's
that
been
game.
reworked.
Yeah. Yeah, but they worked on it for 7 years and it
Oh
was a
yeah,
shit. It was a total
not
shit pile.
that's not
So,
good. I don't know. I don't know what's up with BioShock. Honestly, they need to get it together. I mean, not BioShock, but BioWare. They need to
yeah.
get it together.
So, uh, Montrell, what do you think about this game? Are you excited about it? You care?
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna. I was letting y'all finish your thoughts, but y'all just kept going. So my bad.
Hey man, wait, you're good.
But I think it's gonna remind me of this old Xbox game that I don't even know who made it, to be honest with you. It's called Brute Force, and they had like a 4-player co-op thing, and the whole point was that it was a shooter, but it was a 4-player co-op game, and it was third person, and they had like something along the lines of what Suicide Squad had. It was like a big old alligator creature. You had some kind of, the typical hot girl, some kind of commando shooter guy, and then like a sniper guy. And each player controlled them, or you can play online with it. And it was for the OG Xbox. And that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this game.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll have something. I wonder who made that game. Maybe it was them.
It's called Digital Anvil is the name of the studio that made it. I have no idea who they are.
But yeah, that would have been that would be cool if they kind of like boot that up, or kind of bring that kind of style back, because the game wasn't the best, but I do remember having fun with it. And if Suicide Squad is anything like that, I think it can be done. 7 years though, maybe they booted up a project and then they stopped it.
They had to have.
Yeah,
or maybe this game was something completely different. It wasn't a shooter, and they were trying to do the Arkham style, and it just wasn't working. you know, and they decided to change the game, change what it is.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, according to like Eidos Montreal, they were working on fucking Avengers forever. So I think since the last Human Revolution game
I know. I know.
So,
Fucking Square.
So I believe it, and then I can also see that them helping the Montreal studios with the new Arkham game that we're probably going to talk about next. But I can probably see them helping them out with that. So they probably had to split their development in other ways because they are like the key studio for WB right now as far as making good games. So I mean, I'm excited for it, but it's in 2022, so we'll just hopefully we get some gameplay maybe like next year to see what the idea is. But even then, like I think that might change. So I mean, they had a whole year to change stuff. So I mean,
I think E3 next year probably is when we'll see if there is an E3. But
yeah, but like you said, I'm not really holding my breath like with anything because we have two games that are on two totally different spectrums that had long development cycles. We have Ghost of Tsushima that had a 6-year development cycle that turned out to be brilliant, and then we have Anthem that had a 7-year development cycle, but if you want to be realistic, only a year because the last 6 of those years they were kind of like bullshitting around with the project. So
yeah. When they started talking about it and they said it was like a 4-player co-op game, like a shooter, I started getting worried that this was like a live service game, and I was like, oh fuck, but it doesn't look like that's the case. So I mean, hopefully it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of excited for another squad-based shooter like that's single player because I mean, Rainbow Six used to be like that.
We
Star
haven't
Wars
had one of those in a long time.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, I can't remember. I think the last one I remember playing was on the Xbox 360, PS3 era, and it was Ghost Recon. It's called Advanced Warfare. Ghost Recon Advanced Warfare. And that was the last one I remember that you had like an actual squad, AI squad you can give commands to and things of that nature. Halo 5 was supposed to be that game, and then it didn't turn out to be that game.
Yeah.
Because I remember they actually took the game designer from Star Wars Republic Commandos, and they assigned it to Halo 5, but the gameplay was nothing. You can give your like ODST people or your other AI partners kind of like pseudo commands, like, oh, get on this turret here, but you can't make like, it's not like a strategy thing, if that makes any sense. Yeah, it's not tactical at all. So I would have liked for them to bring that, but they didn't.
How do you guys feel about Superman being a bad guy? Do you care?
I think it's a nice spin. I mean, if it's the Injustice Superman, then I'm definitely down for it.
Okay.
I must say, just like we said last week, you know, I think it's everybody likes to take down Superman. But I think it's interesting that it says kill the Justice League. And so it's like, oh, it's not just Superman. Is it Wonder Woman too? Is it Green Lantern? You know,
Flash,
is it
Batman?
You know, is it Flash? You know, is it everybody?
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, they could pick there's a large range of characters they could pick from with the Justice League, but that is interesting. I'm sure this game could be full of boss fights, like really intense boss fights, if you're fighting all those characters. So
for sure.
But all right, let's move on to the other game that was revealed at DC Fandom. It was the next Batman game, so it's called Batman Gotham Knights. And it's a Batman game that doesn't have Batman in it.
Thank God.
Isn't that awesome?
Yes.
I think that's a nice deviation because, like, when I think about it, you know, Batman is such like not an overplayed character, but kind of like an overplayed character.
I mean, he at this point he's been in everything for so long. Now that he's in video games, like he's been in video games for like almost 15 years. Like we've had multiple reboots of Batman now. We're at the point where we're going to be in our third Batman version of Batman in the last like 10, 15 years too in the movie realm. So it's like, and then, you know, I know that in television, there's been a continuation of some of the animated stuff as well with Batman. So it's like Batman overload is a real thing, I feel like. So I'm kind of with you because, the playable characters in this game are going to be Batgirl, Nightwing, Robin, and Red Hood. And it appears to be an action RPG of some sort. It looks like the Arkham games, but it does not look like it plays like the Arkham games. In
Which is
terms of the way characters move around and stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good thing. I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited that you get to play as the different. I know I'll probably get killed for this, but the different Robin variations Batman sidekick variations, because I really wanted to play a game.
Why do they have to be the sidekick variations? They're their own people, Montrell.
I knew he was gonna say something. Anyway, so I'm really excited for that. Like, I really wanted to play as Red Hood in any kind of video game. I think that's an interesting character. He's one of the most interesting ones. So I'm really excited for it. I like the RPG element. I like how Robin gets to teleport around and stuff like that. Well, I'm pretty sure you're about to explain the gameplay, how it looks, but yeah, it was pretty cool.
Well, yeah, so it looks a little heavier than what Arkham had, where your character's not jumping around like crazy. It's you're very like kind of grounded, and the enemies take a lot of hits to kill from what we saw. The fodder enemies were not.
I don't know. Is it like take a lot of hits like the Division take a lot of hits? Because if it's like the Division,
well, there's damage numbers. Like, it's an RPG. It has like
right, but I don't know. Any of you play the Division? It takes like 3 clips to pit down one person. Like, I'm not trying to have a game where it takes 4 hits to take down one person.
I don't think it'll be that bad, but that
Division
seems like it might be part of the design. Is that enemies are going to be a little beefier than they are in like the Arkham games for sure. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, it didn't look They didn't look spongy. Like, they didn't look bullet spongy. You know,
I wouldn't call them spongy.
That's a good word for it. Are the enemies going to be spongy?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think from what I gathered and from what the RPGs I played, they usually have like. So while I was watching it, I don't know if they're gonna have like mission setups or it's gonna be like an open world, and then like how how the Division is set up. They have certain missions you can go into, and then you can queue up for that instance. So I think this is going to be around how that plays. And I think in those instances, you can choose like hard, normal, easy mode or something of that nature. Now, I think depending on the difficulty, the enemies would be more beefier. But if your character is up to par with those enemies, then yeah, you probably can do like assassinations and take a huge chunk of health down, or even one shot them if you want to, or anything of that nature. Because I think that's still going to be a key aspect of the game, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, it's a full co-op too, so it's a 2-player experience, which
I think is really good for balancing purposes.
That sounds awesome, and you will be able to play solo though. It's not required, just like Suicide Squad. Your partner will be an AI character if you don't have someone to play with. So
okay.
I do like the fact that of the different his different sidekicks, I guess. In this one, it's supposed to be like Commissioner Gordon is dead, so that's an interesting fact. Because I'm really trying to figure out, well, why is it that Batman isn't in this game? Like, what is the reasoning behind it? Is Batman dead? Like,
that's what they implied, but it's not clear.
You know, the only thing that I did not like, what I feel like the game could have used, is Batman's son, Damian. They have Tim Drake as the Robin.
Yeah.
And Tim Drake is like the Batman like clone. He's like, I guess, all of Batman's ideals would be like Tim Drake, essentially. But I think it would have been very interesting to have Tim Drake as Red Robin, and then to have Damian as like Robin. You know, his little assassin son. So that was my only disappointment, because of all the Robins, Damian is my favorite. But I would say, to Montrell's point, I'm definitely excited the most about playing Red Hood, simply because of the Bat family. He is the anti-hero.
Yeah.
He's not strictly on the side of good. He's not evil either. He's definitely the anti-hero.
It makes me wonder how it's going to work, though, too. Like, because you only play as 2 at a time. Are you going to be able to pick whatever 2 you want at any time, like throughout the entire game?
What I kind of think of it as is just like, I think it's just going to like switch between characters. Like, I can't think about it's a game that I'm thinking about. I can't think about what does that. It's just like certain. I just think it's just gonna be like certain parts is gonna be like these two characters, certain parts these two characters, certain parts these two characters. Like just depending on like what the mission is, what where you're at the time. That's what I kind of think. I think the game is just gonna kind of like pick
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough though, balancing that with the RPG mechanics. That's the part that throws me off a little bit. So I don't know. It's that'll be interesting. I'm sure they'll reveal more. It is slated for 2021, and this article says this. I don't remember hearing this at any point during their presentation, but the game is open world. So yeah, it's I don't know. I'm much more excited about this than I am the Suicide Squad game personally. This
Really?
one, yeah, I really like what they're doing with this. This is
But
a
this one's
very
coming out 2021 instead of
yeah
2022. So this game
yeah.
we will get next year,
It's more
and then we
imminent.
will get Suicide Squad the following year.
Yeah, and it's like if we had just gotten another Arkham Batman game, I wouldn't be excited about it really at all. But the fact that this is such a departure from what those games were is actually making me interested in it more. Because I love the Batman universe, but I'm kind of with you guys. Like we have like Batman overload. The fact that we'll get to play as some of the side characters is actually really appealing to me. Because I haven't had a lot of exposure to many of them. Like Red Hood, I know who he is. I know some of his lore, but I've never really like read a story or experienced a story with
Jason
him.
Todd?
Besides Arkham Knight, which he wasn't actually Red Hood in though. So it's like. Yeah,
But
so.
I mean, pretty much Arkham Knight. I mean, is Red Hood. That's his character. Like he's like, he was beat to death by Joker when it was the Killing Joke. I think no, not the Killing Joke.
No, that was Barbara.
Yeah, Death of a Family. I think is what it was when the fans had to vote on who was gonna die, and they voted for Jason Todd. And that's how his canon
is that how that happened?
No, it's true. The
fans
fans
that's
voted.
crazy. Okay.
The fans voted as to who they wanted to kill, and
Man,
they
that's
voted
messed
Jason
up.
Todd. Jason Todd died, and then he was brought back to life by what's that thing that Ra's al Ghul has, that
the Lazarus Pits.
The Lazarus Pit. That's how he was brought back to life, and then he started like training in the League of Assassins for a minute, and so like but then he started from that experience, he started to realize like, wait, why are we just beating these people up? Why are we not killing these people? And so that's where his deviation from Batman comes, because he believes like, all right, we just got to put these people down. They're gonna keep coming after you if you just let them live. So that's like where his like deviation from Batman comes. But yeah, Jason Todd, to me, I like his character a lot, honestly.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm interested to learn more though about them. So I'm excited about it from that front. Yeah, you guys have any other thoughts on this game?
No, I'm excited for it. Maybe I'm more excited for this
because it's more. You sound excited, Montrell.
There's just a lot going on, but I think it's really good. I'm excited for it because it's more the sooner of the two games is coming out. And I really like the gameplay. I really like how they changed the Arkham Knight style. It's not, you're not sticking. It doesn't look like you're sticking to enemies and stuff like that. I really appreciate that. So, and I love the fact that you can play as different characters. So I'm really looking forward to it. Dude,
running around Gotham City in co-op is going to be fucking awesome.
Hell
if
yeah!
If it is open world, like that's going to be really fun. So,
wait a minute. Now, last week y'all were all slamming Arkham Knight, in this open world and the Batmobile, and now all of a sudden open world is okay for Arkham game.
It is. I said in co-op. Key difference there in co-op.
You know what I'm saying?
Also, if the gameplay is better, that Arkham Knight is
all I'm saying is I was saying a different tune last week.
Tiara, Arkham Knight is a specific thing that I have specific problems with that don't necessarily apply to other Batman games. Like that game is its own microcosm that has issues, and so this game looks like it doesn't have those problems. So they showed the bat motorcycle that Batgirl was driving. That thing looks fucking sick. Like so there's no like machine gun on it that you're gonna be blowing up fucking tanks with. So. Yeah,
There's a machine gun on the Batmobile. He can't help that. That is canon.
Understood. I just don't want to be fighting literal tanks with it. I don't need that in my life. So, all right, let's move on before we get into a crazy tangent. Following up on last week, actually, another follow up. We talked about Apple banning Fortnite on the App Store and Google, and how they had taken an extra step to potentially hurt Epic in more ways than just the App Store by closing their developer account on Mac OS. Well, a judge has decided that they cannot do that. So Judge Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers actually granted Epic's request to block Apple from closing their developer account. So but that judge also denied their I think it was a restraining order they were trying to put in. The restraining order on having Fortnite banned on the App Store. The game, so the game is still banned on the App Store. That is going to be true until this resolves itself. But Apple's not going to be able to close the developer account and hurt Unreal Engine. So that's probably the best outcome, at least from my perspective.
Thus far.
Yeah.
I feel like last week that's what we were saying. Last week we were saying that, you know, it's okay for Apple to go at Epic and Epic to go at Apple, but the collateral damage from shutting down Unreal Engine on the Mac was just like, you know, completely unnecessary. It was just like way below the belt. It was just like a nuclear option, and like all of these small time people are going to be the collateral damage. And that's essentially what the judge was saying. The judge was basically saying that, you know, Apple and Epic, if you two want to go at it, you know, at each other, that's fine, but leave everybody else out of it. Like, it was no reason why, and I said that last week, I was like, it's no way Apple should be allowed to do that. That's like clearly retaliatory. It's no way they should be allowed to do that. And the judge obviously agreed. The judge was just saying, like, Unreal Engine has nothing to do with your beef. Like, if you want to keep, you know, they acknowledged that Apple had a real gripe, had a point with keeping Fortnite, you know, off the App Store. You know, that's okay. To pull Fortnite from the App Store, that's okay. That's with entirely your rights. But Unreal Engine had nothing to do with the battle between you and Epic over Fortnite. So I feel like I agree. I feel like this is definitely the best outcome, because I was, you know, worried about this big gigantic battle being dragged out and then having Unreal Engine being taken off of Mac OS, and then having all of these people, you know, like Montrell said, it's not just gaming, yet you can do a lot with Unreal Engine. So having all of these people be asked out because they can't, you know, access Unreal Engine. So I feel like it's definitely the best outcome thus far. But basically Apple was saying in their statement for the what the judge said, basically Apple was saying that Epic can end this at any point in time. They can end this by just paying the fucking fee. Just paying the 30%, they can fucking end this. And Epic is just like, yeah, well, again, we know why can't it be 20%? Why can't it be 15%? Why must it be 30%? And so I feel like the judge keeping the fight contained to, you know, what it's supposed to be about is a major win for everybody.
Right, I think it's the right choice. And there's literally a quote in the article, you know, about this, that Apple basically saying that Epic did this whole situation, like integrated their own direct payments into the game just to have an excuse to have this lawsuit. And Epic's lawyers basically were like, yeah, essentially. You know, so
I mean, no, but it was obvious.
Yeah,
it was obvious because once they did that, they knew what was going to happen. Yeah, they knew. Right. The minute that they did this, they knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, so that's overt. That's overt. So, yeah, I think this is the best way to start this. Is I totally agree with you. Keeping this to contained to Apple v Epic is what it should be and what it kind of needs to be. Like, including other people that have nothing to do with this fight is like just wrong. It's like literally Apple just waving their dick around, being like, "Oh, we don't care. Fuck everybody. You know, anybody associated with Epic can go fuck themselves because Epic won't pay us 30% on Fortnite." It's like, no, dude, it's not really cool. You know, like,
I mean, honestly, I think they should be punished for that. Like, I'm glad the judge sounds real competent, and it's the situation where she kept it between the games, or that instance of the games, the microtransaction portion of it, and 30%. If I was a judge though, I would have punished them and said you had to kind of pay a countersuit to some people or whatever the fuck, like give them some kind of compensation for the week that they were down.
It didn't affect anybody. It didn't affect anybody yet. Remember the originally that they gave Epic till the 28th of August, which that date has not passed. So the fact that this happened, no one actually got hurt by this yet. It's just that some people were already acting though, in terms of like moving their games over to other things. So that is where you're kind of right. There probably are some damages there. That Apple probably should be responsible for, but it's much more minor than it could have been, because they got to it so quick. So
I just think they should. I still think something should happen so that they won't pull this move with anything else.
Nobody was hurt.
Somebody
was going to be hurt.
The simple fact that they just did that is kind of wild to me. And I know
Montrell wants them to be made an example of.
Yeah, like I really want them to be made an example of.
I think what people have to understand is that the judges can't. Apple didn't break any laws. Like that's the key here. Like Apple didn't break any laws. Morally it was corrupt, but you can't really punish Apple because they didn't break any laws.
Apple could shut the contract.
I think that was a breach of contract. Like that's Unreal Engine. That's a breach of contract. That has nothing to do with 30%.
We don't know what exactly is in the contract to say that it was a breach of contract. But basically, the judge said verbatim, Epic Games and Apple are at liberty to litigate against each other, but their dispute should not create havoc to bystanders. And that's essentially what we were saying. Like, all these people are the collateral damage.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I think what Epic is doing is, I think what Apple did to Epic, taking Fortnite off the store, was totally within their rights. I just think what happened as a collateral damage, that's like a nuke going off in the middle of a field, and about 2 people were killed, but those 2 people were still killed, and like we need to do something about that. That shit is crazy.
I would say.
And it's a fallout. Like I think that's a huge fallout, because I think now people are going to look at that and they're going to be very cautious about. So this hurts to me. This hurts their overall future prospects for people developing on their platforms, because let's say Apple and Unity get into it over some kind of stupid dispute over a fucking game or whatever the fuck. And Apple's like, whoop, you can't use Unity engine no more than Apple, or they do it with the Square Enix's engine, or they do it with anybody else's engine. Like,
but are those developers trying to circumvent Apple?
I just said as an example, it doesn't matter. Like, that is not okay. Like,
but maybe the damage that you're talking about though has already been done. Apple did this damage to themselves. Like, maybe there's no more damage that needs to be done, because maybe developers are going to be like, well, fuck it. If Apple's going to do this potentially at some point in the future, if they have getting a pissing context test with the wrong company,
that's what
why would I want to develop on their platform?
That's literally what I just said. Yeah, I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying though. What I'm saying is that is the damage that they're taking. Like, they don't necessarily need anything else on top of that. That they've done that to themselves already. So that might be adequate, given the fact that they didn't actually shut anything down yet. It's an issue of their own making, just like Epic. So I don't know. I think the judge's order here is appropriate, and I think it's the best way to proceed personally. I think in terms of paying damages to certain developers or something like that, I mean, that if they have already left Apple's ecosystem because of what Apple was planning to do here, that is the damage to Apple in terms of that. Obviously paying those developers, it's kind of a case by case thing, but it's hard to say definitively without knowing these situations, because I don't know for a fact that developers have actually jumped ship yet. They might have already been working on doing that, but at this point, if this isn't going to happen, then they might just cancel whatever plans they were making. So, we'll see. I mean, I think at this point we're probably not going to hear about this for a while. I would imagine like we're
but I think it's interesting is to like if you follow the judge's like train of thought, the
Mhm.
judge seems to be really neutral on the situation. The judge says that that she thinks is that Epic is facing an uphill battle as far as winning the case on merit alone.
Mhm.
But then she also acknowledged that there are serious questions to Apple's like business model,
Yeah.
and the fact that Apple, the main reason why she sided with Epic over Apple as far as Unreal Engine is because she acknowledged that taking Unreal Engine off would have ripples through the entire gaming community, in turn, and then other aspects as well. And then so she says that the problem is if you have an iPhone, you can't buy apps from anywhere else. As you were saying last week, that with Android there's the Samsung store and there's like other stores within Android, but in Apple is only the Apple store. So she's saying, well, from there, from that standpoint, there is no competition. And then, well, where is that 30% figure coming from? But we acknowledged last week that 30% is standard. But Apple is saying that, consumers enjoy plenty of competition, from other markets, mainly Android or whatever. But I guess that's not, but like I was saying last week, as long as there's one other person that's your direct rival, that's the argument that you can make against trust busting. Like, as long as there's one other person, that's my competition. You can't call me a trust because that's competition. And so that's what Apple is making. And so it's kind of like a fine line. It's like, yes, technically speaking, on iOS, you can't do anything that Apple says you can't do. There's no other app stores, but you don't have to have an iPhone. You can go somewhere else. You can get a Samsung phone. You can get another type of phone, and then that's what Apple is saying. But and the reality of the situation is, typically speaking, people who are plugged into the iOS system, the iOS ecosystem, is not going anywhere else because you have all of these devices. You got an Apple Watch, you got an iPad, you got all of these things that plug you into the ecosystem. So it's not as easy to say, oh well, let me just get an Android tomorrow. Like, no.
Yeah, and if you've been in that ecosystem for years, for 10 years, say, moving away from that is a nightmare.
Right. So it's kind of like it's like a slippery slope. It's like in theory, sure, there's competition, but in practice,
within their own ecosystem, though, there's no competition, but it's their ecosystem. So that's really where the philosophy of this discussion comes in, is like, yes, it's their ecosystem. They've created it, but they've created it in such a way, it's almost like a spider web where it traps you and you can't get out. So is that, once you're that far embedded that you can't get out, is it then kind of a monopoly within itself? Like, it's kind of weird, but it makes sense. I don't know. I honestly don't really know where I stand on this. Like, I'm not really on Apple's side, but at the same time, like,
it's I just think that today was just, or this is just like a win for developers and consumers, because now Unreal Engine is protected and now the fight can stay to where it's supposed to be. And that's between Apple and Epic and not the rest of us.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
Cool. Well, we'll see where it goes. We'll definitely report on it if we get more information. So, all right, let's move on. We got our final story here. Crysis Remastered got delayed a couple months ago, out of August. It was supposed to come out this month. It is coming on September 18th. It has been revealed. So
I never played Crysis before.
Me either. No, none of us have. I don't believe. So that'll be on. It'll be on PlayStation 4 and Windows PC via the Epic Game Store and Xbox One. It's interesting, though. This was originally supposed to be coming to Switch. The Switch is not mentioned in this announcement, so that is more than likely not coming on September 18th. That's probably because they're having issues getting the game to run on there, like Tiara was mentioning earlier. And we'll see what happens with that. So, but yeah, Crysis. I did want to play this. I think at this point, though, it's probably not gonna happen for me. Yeah, there's so many other games that I need to get to. It's like I don't have time for a 10-year-old game. But I don't know. You guys interested in it at all?
No, I ain't gonna hold you.
I have Crysis on Steam. I only used it to test my PC build.
Benchmark your PC. Yeah.
That's so crazy.
That's what this game was. Crysis is funny within the PC community. This is a like legendary game. That's probably like going to go down in like the annals of PC gaming history because that was what this game was for fucking years, like literally almost 10 years. This game was the benchmark video game on how good your PC was. Like it's hilarious.
So if you can run Crysis at full settings, then your PC was like,
no one could run Crysis at full settings.
No one.
That was the point. It was that was what it was.
That's
it was
funny.
A game that pushed graphical fidelity further than any game had before it, and that was the thing. When it came out, no PCs that you could make at the time contemporary to it could play the game on full settings. And eventually they could, but it was like how well they played it, like how, frame rates and all that stuff. It was like, what resolution are you on and all that. It's like, so yeah, this game was quite the beast back in the day, which is why it being on Switch is funny as hell. I'm like, I don't even think the Switch could play this game. Like, but
because I built my PC back in 2017. So even then, when I first built it, Crysis was the first game I downloaded. Then The Witcher was the second game I downloaded.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was able to play Crysis at almost ultra settings, like everything turned on.
Man, that's crazy. Oh my God.
I was still getting like 55 frames. I turned on The Witcher and I was able to play everything at 1440p with 60 frames. But for some reason, I couldn't play Crysis at 1440p.
I don't think that's necessarily because Crysis is a more demanding game than The Witcher 3. It's probably more due to an OS thing because this game came out when like Windows 7 was the primary OS on PC. So it's probably a compatibility issue with Windows 10 that's making it hard to play. Because that's what I read when they announced this remaster. A lot of people were saying like, "Oh, thank God they're doing this because this game can't play on Windows 10. Like, it does not play well on Windows 10." So
okay, that's probably what it was. Then.
So I think that was probably more what you ran into with it. But but that's going to alleviate that. The remaster obviously is going to bring it up to date with modern OSs. So
well, I gotta rebuild my PC then. Let's go.
Yeah, man. So all right, well, that's all we got, guys. Is there any bullshit you want to talk about before we go?
I just feel like we didn't talk about in none of these weeks. We never talked about Hitman 3.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we did during that state of play that you hated.
No. We talked about Hitman VR. We didn't.
Yeah, but that was for Hitman 3.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You didn't say much about it though. Beyond that.
Well, because it was VR. Yes, I did. I said that I really like Hitman and that I was excited. That I was thinking about buying a PlayStation VR for that.
You did.
But
so we talked about it.
I just feel like we never, we don't put no emphasis on Hitman, and I feel some type of way about that because Hitman is a really amazing, and none of you played it apparently.
I mean, I want to play it. It's on my list. Like it's a game I want to play. I know I fucking like it.
Hitman. I played the original Hitman. I have not played the remake of Hitman.
Well, it's not.
They're not remakes.
It's not a remake though.
They're new. Okay. Yeah, they're just new entries.
Okay. Well, I played the original Hitman that was on like the PS or the Xbox, OG Xbox. That's the one I played.
This franchise, I don't know this for sure. I never played any of them, but my impression of this franchise is that it didn't get really good until these new ones that came out this generation.
No, I like the first one. The first one was really good. It was innovative for it.
To your point, like literally, I feel like that's true because I got into Hitman with this current iteration because I think the first episode was free.
Yep.
It was episodic.
It was episodic. The first one
was. The first episode was free, and I was like, "Wow, this is really, really good," and it made me buy the rest of them. And then Hitman 2 is still kind of sort of episodic, but not really.
Well, that was that they cut their deal with Square Enix in the middle of development of that game, so Square was the one pushing the episodic model on them, and I think it kind of
but it's
was
still.
weird.
I mean, it's still kind of sort of episodic. I guess it's just chapters now, but it's still kind of sort of episodic. Each mission is like a basically an episode. So but
I gotta play these games. I know I do.
That's what to your point, that's true because and then I was like, okay, well then the remastered versions of the previous Hitman games came out and I bought those games and it's just not the same. It's not the same. They don't play the same. And it's just like, so I feel like to your point, that's true. Like the Hitman really, really just got good. Like this iteration. Like,
well, I disagree with that. The OG really Hitmans are really good. for their time. I mean, they didn't age well because they're made like 15 years ago. But
2002.
Yeah, like they're old as hell.
But I mean, for me, it's the same as like playing like The Witcher 3 and trying to go back to The Witcher 2. Like The Witcher
or Witcher 1.
I mean, yeah, but The Witcher game. Even The Witcher 1, I have that game as well. But The Witcher 2 specifically was really, really good. Like it was really a highly critically acclaimed game, and then The Witcher 3 was obviously even better. But somebody was asking me, like a couple weeks ago, should they play The Witcher 2? And I was just like, honestly, no. Like, if you're gonna play The Witcher 2, you gotta play that first. Because once you play The Witcher 3, you can't go back to The Witcher 2. It's like impossible.
Yeah, watch a playthrough of The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 1.
And that's how I feel like with Hitman. Like, because I started Hitman with this current iteration, trying to play those other Hitman games is just not working. Like, it's just, I can't do it. But this current iteration of Hitman is so amazing. Like the amount of detail, and especially if you play Hitman on the hardest difficulty, like these people read everything. Yeah. They hear a pin drop and they on the opposite side of the map. Like, so I feel like, we don't talk about Hitman enough, honestly. And Hitman 3. I hopefully when Hitman 3 comes out, you would have definitely played Hitman 1 and 2.
So it was.
I actually just got Hitman 2 because I feel like Hitman 2 comes with Hitman 1. Oh,
so
wait, no.
Was an original. This is a remake of the original ones. So it was Hitman 1, 2, and 3.
Really?
Yeah. So it was Hitman 1, 2, and 3, like I said, and then they came out and made it again. Hey. So. The original one was made in 2000, so that's why it aged terribly. But when it came out in 2000,
no, I'm talking about this current iteration of Hitman.
Well, I was talking about the 2000 version of Hitman because he said these games haven't always been good, and I was trying to tell him like, well, the games have always been good. They just kind of died out. I don't think
every one of them though. Like I remember there were a lot of Hitman games back in.
Well, they released some for the PSP and all the other shit like that. Yeah. But
the main line was the storyline for this current iteration. Like they're not the same game. That's what I was saying.
Okay.
All right.
But you should all play Hitman.
I want to play Hitman. I gotta find time for it. That's it. I will say IO's been doing work this generation. They're gonna get 3 of these out within a 5-year period, I think, or 6-year period. That's pretty crazy. That's kind of unheard of in modern AAA game dev. So, hats off to them for that, because that alone impresses me. And the fact that these games are so critically acclaimed, I'm like, man, how are they cranking these games out? Like,
did y'all play Kane and Lynch? Because I never played Kane and Lynch.
No,
because that's also an IO game or a series.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a pretty well-known game too, or a well-known series too.
But I would say I've never played it before. It was one of those things that I've always wanted to play, but just never got around to doing it.
Cool. Well, all right, let's call it there. We're at an hour and a half. That's perfect. This is perfection. This episode's perfect. This is the perfect podcast. So if you like this episode, please like the episode, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you're listening to it on, and please share it with your friends. We'd really appreciate that. If you'd like to interact with any of us on Twitter, you can do so at Victorian Jedi for Tiara. Montrell is at iTrap for the Hokage. That is the number 4, not the word. I am at TheNerdNut01, and the show is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. And that's it. Next week, I have no idea what we're going to be talking about. There will be something that happens, I'm sure. So we hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we will see you on the next one. All right, bye.